All right, welcome to the Relentless podcast. I'm your host, Sam. Today with me, Reggie. We are going to go over his entrepreneurship, his leadership, and where he's at right now in life, and kind of do a backstory and go from there. So, Reggie, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So, can you give us, your name, kind of your backstory, and what you did before and what you're doing now?
Absolutely. So, like I said, my name is Reggie Foster, and my background has really been in management. To be more specific, it's been in restaurant management. But it's been a tough road to get here, but that's where we currently sit at.
That's great. That's great. So, restaurant business. What made you move to restaurant? Because anyone I know who owns a restaurant, it's very, very tough. It's almost like a ball and chain where you're stuck to it all the time. And I tell my guys that own pizza places in particular, it's very hard for them to get off, and they spend all their time there every single day.
And I 100% agree with you. And personally, if you ask me, so I've dabbled in a lot of different businesses, a lot of different industries. I've done everything from, I had a gas station, I had a used car lot, just little tiny stuff here and there. And I've dabbled in a lot of stuff, friends, businesses. And I can honestly tell you, I think restaurant business is the toughest and the hardest business out of all of them.
I have to agree. Some of my hardest working friends, they own restaurants, and they are there all the time, and they never get a day off.
You are chained to that location, and when you look at larger businesses and you want to try to scale, it's almost impossible.
Yep.
Because you are stuck at that one location day in, day out, and there's not much you can do.
Sure.
You're stuck there.
Absolutely.
That's what it's like sometimes.
So let me ask you this: how did you find the restaurant business to be like your passion? Like, what was it? Because like some of the young entrepreneurs, 15, 16-year-olds that say, hey, I don't really know what I want. What is it that sparked you to say, hey, I did this, did this. Guess what? This is what I like doing.
So I had just finished up high school. Barely finished up high school. Barely got through high school, to tell you the truth. And I decided then to go to a community college, Radon Valley Community College. And I was going there, and a couple of my friends were also going there. And at the time, I didn't have a job. I was really just kind of taking a couple classes, hanging out with my friends, but not doing much. And all of my friends worked in restaurants. We had two major restaurants near us. One was a TGI Fridays and one was a Hula Hands. I'm sorry, one was a TGI Fridays, one was an Applebee's, and all my friends worked at one of those two places. And at night, I would hang out at those places, and they'd be bartending or serving, and I would hang out there and have fun. And they would come home at night and have $100 in cash or $200 in cash, and I'm looking at them like, wow, I could use that type of money, and it looks like they were having fun while they were doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could do that. So a new restaurant chain was opening up down the street called Hula Hands, and I was like, I'm going to go interview. So I went there, I walked in, and I had absolutely zero experience, never really been in a restaurant like that before, and I walked in, I convinced the guy to give me a job as a server. And he said, okay, I'm going to give you a shot. And I started there, day one, the place opened up, and I worked my ass off. And it was fun. It was extremely hard work. It was very frustrating. I would come home at night, and you're dead tired. You've been on your feet all day, working open to close.
Wow.
But within 6-8 months, they said, hey, we want to train you in some management. I said, sure.
That's great.
And I took that opportunity and ran with it. Before you know it, I was a manager there. And then I realized, okay, I can do this here. I can do this anywhere.
Sure.
So I took that job and I started looking at other jobs, and I found a guy who owned Friendly's and Burger King restaurants.
Okay.
He was looking for a manager. And I said, okay. And it was more money than I was currently making.
Sure.
And so I was like, whatever. And I wasn't making that much money at the time. And he offered me a job, and I believe it was a salary management position. And I still had the job offer sitting in my car because I remember it's the first real job I ever got. And I believe it was $35,000 a year. Wow. And I was like, wow, more money I've ever made in my life. I'm taking that. So I left Hula Hands and I went to go work for him. And he started me off slowly. Working one of his Burger King restaurants, managing there. Then he had me over in his Friendly's restaurant, managing there. And I slowly, it was just a grind, and it was an everyday work. But I loved it. I started to really like being in charge and just running things from a management position. And I worked, and after about a year, he moved me up. And eventually, I was pretty much, he owned at that point 2 or 3 Burger King restaurants, and he owned 2 Friendly's restaurants. And eventually, I was running all of his restaurants for him at this point. and I was getting to know people. I was working with people on the friendly side. We were a franchisee of Friendlies.
Sure.
And so at this point, I'm working with people who work for corporate. I'm working with the, at one point, I'm on the franchisee board of advisors, and I'm working with whole national chains. And now I'm getting to know everyone from the CEO up. And Friendlies at the time was going through a very rough time. Friendlies, at one point, we went through 4 CEOs in the span of 5 years.
Wow.
But I got to the point where I got to be in the meetings to help pick the next CEO, you know. And
That's amazing.
So,
That's amazing.
and it was just, you know, just talking and meeting people and just doing their job and doing everything for him. And I'm like, wow, you know, I can do this for this guy. Why can't I do this for myself?
Right.
So at that point, I called up some of my friends. I was like, hey, let's get together. Let's go get one of these Friendlies. I think I can buy one. And I found one for sale, and I got some people together. And I called up the people at Friendlies, and I said, listen, you know, I don't have a lot of money, and you know, for your franchise requirements, I'm never going to pass that. I don't have the $1 million in equity that's required. I don't have any of that.
Sure.
But I'm friends of all these guys, and I know all these guys.
Right.
So they're like, just fill out the application. Don't worry about it.
That's great.
Filled out the application. 60 days later, I'm approved to be a franchisee. I go ahead and close the deal, and I go buy the place.
Beautiful.
And I had pretty much no money at that point. I used every dime that I had. Got some money from my parents, borrowed from friends, borrowed from everywhere. Purchased a place, which obviously left me in a lot of debt because I had to pay all this money back, obviously. So I had my own place, and it was great in the beginning. Now, mind you, I did not have a business background. I've never owned my own business before. So it was really a learning and growing experience. I didn't understand the business side of it. Yeah, maybe I understood how to run a restaurant and how to order and do stuff like that, but I didn't understand the business things of it. I didn't have the slightest idea what taxes was. Not a clue. No idea.
Yep.
Didn't know. And so I had the restaurant for about 3 or 4 years. And it was good running it on the side. Economy was so-so. Friendlies at that time, like I said, was jumping through CEOs. And so I got to the point where I was maybe making money, breaking even, wasn't really making money. But whatever money I made, I had to pay back the money that I borrowed to buy the place in the beginning.
Sure.
And I wasn't focused on it. At that point, I kind of started to lose focus. I was staying out late at night with my friends, doing this, doing that. I don't know, 21, 22 years old at the time.
Oh, wow, you're young.
You know, I
You're
was
still
extremely
young.
young.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely. Youngest Friendlies franchisee in history, I believe. So I was extremely young at the time. And then somehow I got another opportunity to buy a bar at Rutgers University. And I mean, I'm 22, 23 at the time, had the Friendlies, but now I'm hanging out a lot. I'm barely going to work at the Friendlies. And I said, yeah, I'm going to go buy this bar. Borrowed more money. I'm already in debt, borrowed more money. All right. Purchased the bar with a partner, some friends. They're going to run it. I'll oversee everything. And didn't know the slightest thing about bar business.
I love it. I love you just willing to jump in. Any entrepreneur, like, you know what, I'm going to jump in and figure it out.
I know anything about the ABC, about the liquor laws. I still don't know anything about business. Still don't know how to pay a single tax. Still don't know anything. Jumping into it. But the only thing I really had going for me was my work ethic. So even if I stayed out till 3 a.m. drinking and partying with my friends, I was still at work at 6 a.m. no matter what.
Love it.
And I never missed a day.
Yeah.
So at this point, I would get to my Friendlies restaurant around 5, 6:30 in the morning, and I would leave there around 8 o'clock at night, and I would go to the bar, and I would close the bar till about 2:30 in the morning, have a drink at the bar, relax, hang out, and I'd be back at Friendlies the next morning at 6:30 a.m.
Wow.
So I was working nonstop at that point, and we were just going crazy. So at that point, we ran into all different little headaches. The bar was getting, the town came in, they wanted to buy the bar, intimate domain, they wanted the whole revitalize system.
Sure.
Friendlies was on the verge of bankruptcy. We weren't making money. And eventually, partners wanted money back. We're like, all right, this whole thing isn't going to work. I realized its whole thing's going to collapse. It's not going to work.
Sure.
So eventually, the town came in, wanted the bar regarded. So we got to let that go.
Right.
And Friendlies at the same time. At that point, we were making pretty much nothing at this point. So we got to get rid of that. We got to let that go. And so even though I got rid of everything, I still was in a ton of debt. I still owed hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is more money than I'd ever seen in my life. At that point, the biggest job I've ever had was making $35,000 a year. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? I owe this, and like I said, I didn't know anything about taxes.
Sure.
Owed money in taxes that I didn't even know existed.
Right.
Right. My friend who was helping me out doing that side, we were just friends. He never did it either. He didn't even know. I was like, oh, do we have to pay this? What is this? And no idea. We don't know. We had no clue. We had no idea what we were doing.
You don't learn in school, unfortunately.
No, they don't teach you in school. Hey, you got your pass-through tax. You got your corporate tax. You got to pay quarterly tax. You save this, save that. State tax, sales tax. None of this in school.
No.
So not the slightest idea. He didn't pay it. I didn't pay it. We had no idea.
Sure.
So eventually, even when we got rid of this stuff, we're still stuck with all these bills. We owe money, owe taxes, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, declared bankruptcy, cleared everything. Right? I think that was 10-year bankruptcy, whatever it is, 13 years, I don't even know.
Sure.
But I was still young. I was 24, 25 at the time. I was young, and I was like, okay, whatever. And so now I needed a job, though. So I went out and I got a job working for a large restaurant group, national chain, Famous Dave's. And I started working from them, started as a manager, started over again, worked my way up, running all their stores. Not all the stores, running the New Jersey stores, helping out in other locations, working with a great group of guys.
Nice.
But at the time, almost every dollar I was making was just still going back to paying back debt,
Sure.
paying off. And even though I claimed bankruptcy, the taxes were still there. Not all of them disappeared. Some of them still stayed for some reason, whatever that law was. So I was still paying off stuff. I was working there. And I stayed there for about 7 or 8 years. And at the same time, though, I was helping out other friends. So friends who, I want to go into the restaurant, I would help them with their projects. I helped out a very good friend who had a gas station. And I would run that for him. So I was doing a bunch of different things.
Right.
I got together for another little friend. We opened up a little used car lot. We were selling used cars on the side. We were just flipping 1 or 2 cars a week, 3, 4 cars a week, just to make a couple $1,000s here or there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really where we got going again. So we kept flipping cars.
Sure.
We were doing that. We were working in the convenience store, in the gas station, selling stuff. And we built up a little bit of money. And eventually, I was like, okay, I've done this for a while. I've worked for a while. I'm now ready and I got a good education working there, understanding the back end of the business, understanding what a P&L statement was, understanding bills, really got a good education on that. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this again. Called up a longtime friend who I knew for 20 years, who'd always wanted to do something with me. I said, I'm jumping back into the restaurant business. Let's go. We're going to go 50-50 on this, but we're going to do this big time, So I want to go buy a place, first restaurant. All right, so we looked at a couple places. First one didn't work out, just the sales numbers didn't work out. Looked at another one, finally we settled on one. A lot of money, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go into debt again. I'm gonna do this again. The price they wanted, a little under $1 million, we're talking.
Ooh, yeah.
And my salary at the time, I'm making about 80 grand a year at the time.
Got it.
And I'm gonna try to buy something for 80, and I have a couple grand in my bank account.
Got it.
Call up some friends, got together with a bunch of people, borrowed enough money. My partner put up half, go in, all right, we're going to buy this. We're going to start over, we're going to do it again. And we did it. We purchased it, and we started running, and this time I knew what I was doing, and this time things just kind of took off.
That's great.
And so the motto was, I was so used to not having money that I decided I really just want to grow and expand, and I want 1, I want 2, I want 3, I want 4, I want 5. And he agreed with me. He's like, yeah, I'm on the same platform. We have the same thinking. And so we're like, all right, business model. So if let's say we made $1 million.
Sure.
We would take that $1 million and we go buy something for $1.5 million.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
So now we added on $500,000 in debt, but now we have location number 2.
Sure.
So the next year we make $2 million, right?
Right.
We took that $2 million and we go buy something for 2.5. We're not taking any of this money for a person. We're not buying cars, houses, we're not doing nothing.
Sure.
None of this money went to us.
Just straight working,
This money went
revenue
boom,
and
next to the next
reinvesting.
one. Went to the next one.
Love
Went
that.
to the next one.
Yep.
And that was our motto, and that is still what we're doing today.
Love that.
And that is where we are right now. And it was a lot of work to get back here. And, But our business model was, let's just keep doing this. Let's keep growing. So,
Sure.
We started with nothing, and now, we do $5-6 million this year. I'll hit $10 million within the next couple years. And
Beautiful.
I met a guy who does $40 million a year, and I was like, all right, that's my goal. I'm going to get to where you are.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'm going to get to where you are.
So it's crazy how all entrepreneurs all have the same bottom line. Work ethic has to be number one.
The work ethic is number one.
Then on top of that, you had leadership too.
Yes.
With the hula hands. My cousin was a bartender there, Denise DeMayo, back in the day too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was there for like 100 years. She's a nurse now, but it was funny you brought that name. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, hula hands.
And then the next thing that you had, which I thought was pretty cool, is you learned the business you failed, but that failure was a lesson for later, and you didn't give up.
That was a great lesson.
Oh yeah, because a lot of people, they'll get there, they'll get scared, they'll fail, they go, I'm not doing that again. Never, not doing it again.
So
but that's the worst thing you can do.
I consider my failure my college education.
That's
what
exactly
I consider it.
I did
I
very
learned
similar with
everything
that.
through my failure. That's
Oh,
where I
yeah.
learned everything.
Absolutely.
I learned what we did
Absolutely.
right, what we did wrong, and all right, now I understand, where we messed up, what was wrong, what we should be doing, where I should have been focusing.
Absolutely.
And that's all right. The second time around, I got this. But number one is it's the work ethic.
Sure.
Because no matter what, that was the number one thing I always had going. And like I said, I'm young. I'm hanging out, partying, and drinking until 3 o'clock in the morning.
Sure. Oh yeah.
I still was at work at 6
Made sure you were there every single
Still.
day. Oh yeah. Most important
Never
thing.
missed a day.
Oh yeah.
I could be sick, hungover, didn't matter.
Yep.
Never missed a day.
That's great.
I was at work and I was working my ass off no matter what.
Yeah, so the common denominator is definitely going to be ready to work in this business, especially if you're going to be successful.
You have to be ready.
Because you're going to fail a lot, but you're going to learn a lot, and then you just keep pushing. Eventually, you find that formula, you have the formula,
Absolutely.
and you just keep rolling with it, and it works. Once you find that working thing, you just work it harder.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then once that happens, you start having open opportunities you never thought you even had before, and they just start coming up, and people just start throwing them at you. Where before you go,
And that
I
is
could never get
literally
that.
what you're 100% right.
Oh yeah, when
Years
I had no
ago,
money, I could get nothing. All of a sudden, now people are just
when I was
throwing
trying to
stuff
borrow
at you.
money and everyone no.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Nowadays, people throwing money.
Exactly.
Hey, I'll
Exactly.
give you this. Hey, I'll give you that. Hey, I was talking to my partner the other day, and he's like,
Right.
listen, if I quit my job today, he's like, I know guys willing to throw $5-10 million at us right now.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, I couldn't borrow $10,000 5 years
Exactly.
ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's
Couldn't get
amazing.
$10,000. And nowadays, we got, and my partner works for a very large national bank chain. He's very high up in this bank. And he's like, listen, I got equity guys. These guys will literally throw $5-10 million at us right now.
Right.
And they want to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And they're making offers.
Sure.
Hey, this one guy's begging to come in and buy part of their company. This guy's begging to, invest in this.
Unbelievable.
This guy's begging to invest because he
Sure.
talks to all these people and he tells, hey, he says, this is what we're doing. These are our numbers. Look what we're growing.
That's great.
We're doing great. And people just throwing money.
Oh yeah, that's
And
amazing.
I said no to every single one.
Yeah. You know why? Because
No,
it doesn't
no,
fit
no.
your model. Because your model's working.
And every single time I say
that's-
no.
Oh yeah, because I had people go, hey, I'll give you $5 million right now. We'll do the house. I'm like, well, honestly, I don't know how to make that $5 million work, and you also make money back from that. So I might as well hold off on that right now. You know what I mean? If I figure it out, then I'll come back to you. But right
doesn't
now,
fit your model,
it doesn't
don't
fit
do
the
it.
model. Don't need it. You know what I mean?
Don't need
Just
it.
stay lean. Stay lean. Keep it tight. Keep it profitable, and just build up.
That's the way to do it.
Oh, definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
That is the way to do it.
And then for me, the only difference I did is I started investing in the rental property. So I figured I don't
That's a
need
big goal of
car.
mine, by the
oh
way.
yeah, my thing was this: if I didn't have the money for my rental, I wouldn't buy the house. You know, that I live in now. Like literally, when I bought my first house, I'm like, okay, I need enough rental income to cover the mortgage. Actually, I bought the house cash, but literally, when I came from nothing, I came from 30 grand. Came for 30 grand, bought my house for 200, sold for 500, bought my next one for 900, put another 900 into it. You know, same thing with cars. I could care less what kind of car I had.
Yeah.
Back then, I bought a $2,200 minivan. People were making fun of me. Yeah, I got the minivan. But now I'm like, I got the car I
was the
want.
same way.
You know what
I
I
used
mean?
to be the same
And-
way.
Yeah, and you have to be like that because I feel like if your first thing is, I'm going to take a loan so I can buy a nice truck and have this business, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
You're
It's not
totally
gonna
wrong.
work. It is not gonna
Your
work.
mindset isn't there. Or my brother, perfect example, because everyone's a little different. My brother's like, I want to have my own business just like you so I can talk to people on my cell phone whenever I want. I said, is that really your thinking? And that is his thinking. People think just because you have your own business, you can do what you want. When you want, you really can't though. That business is there. Can you adjust your schedule a little bit if you need to? Yes, but your focus primarily needs to be on profitability, keeping everyone busy, making sure the numbers are working, and customer service is number one.
Your business is your baby. It's your focus.
That's
And
right.
To this day, I mean, I keep a cell phone on me at all times. I keep a backup cell phone in the car.
Yep.
I am reachable 24/7.
Absolutely.
And it's always something.
Another
There's
common
always-
denominator is the phone.
There is
You gotta
no
be
such
available
thing
for
as a
people.
day off.
That's right.
No such thing. I work 7 days a week. There's always something to do, no matter
yeah.
what.
Yep.
And in the back of your mind, you're always thinking about, oh my God, now this, that. You're always thinking about something.
Sure.
There are no days off.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
No days off, ever.
Yep, definitely. Even when I wake up, I mean, I try and give, and again, I'm the bottleneck. I always want to get involved, but I've been doing it for so long, I like to get involved. Like we started bringing this new lead source, which we pay for, and they're supposed to be calling. Well, they call, but I call relentlessly. I don't stop until I get the people on the phone and I book them. Like, how did you do it? I said, why? I just don't stop. I don't care.
stop. You keep going.
Yeah, they're like, well, you have to call them how many times? Yes, I do. And I'll call them until I get them on the phone, and that's it. Same thing with you. once you start
Speaking of which,
if you have to get the phone, you're more than welcome. But yeah, we have to be available for our business.
you have to be.
Because unfortunately, until you get it to where it's, hey, run itself and you can work on the business. And again, I'm trying to work on the business. I hired a COO just so I can do that.
Sure.
I still find myself, number one, I like doing it. I've been doing it my whole life. So it's like, oh my God, what do I do now?
Yeah, what are you going to do if you don't?
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah. And the second thing, I like to be able to push everyone to be able to be better too.
Absolutely.
Because that's my next thing now. Hey, if I can make my team better, that's going to make me better. And that's like my new thing now.
So you'll learn that, and I learned this a little bit later, but you will learn that your team is your biggest asset. Your employees are everything.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely.
And I learned this later on, but it's true. And that's why these guys, I want to do things for them. I want to keep them happy.
Yep.
I want to make sure things are going smoothly with them, because without them, you're nothing.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
you rely on these guys, and so you want to make sure they're happy as well.
Definitely.
It's a really big part of it.
So I guess the other thing is your background, obviously you worked in franchises. So franchises were really good with building systems out,
Yes.
positions
Yes, they
out,
were.
accountability. How did that play into what you're doing now?
So really everything, because I became a systems guy, and I wasn't the first timer. I wasn't a systems guy.
Sure.
And working in franchising made me a systems guy.
Right.
And today, you tell me something right now, and I will go type it into a little note thing in my phone. Now I write down everything. I've got checklists for everything. I've got systems and procedures for everything.
Absolutely.
There's a way to do everything. And
Yes.
before it was just kind of, this, that, we'll figure it out. No.
Right.
Now it's all about systems, and now it's all about procedures.
Oh yeah.
And
Definitely.
that's one of the things I did learn from them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish I did have a little more experience with that. I really didn't. So when I built my business, I built it around me, and there was no systems. I do everything, and I say, hey, you go do this, and then they would do it how they did it. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. We got to do it like this. And then I'm backtracking. And then instead of going, hey,
And now you're making more work for yourself. You're doing things twice.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's why I decided to change things up. This year I built the training center up here. We could train up to 27 people on how to do each thing the same way with checklists and balances, and then a CRM system, which is Builder Trend, where the job comes up, they do it in our order, they put their check marks on it, they put their pictures in there, make sure the client satisfaction form is signed, and then build that up. But hadn't I started to look at other like restaurants where I first started it, I'm like, wow, they do it on a system. It always is consistent with everything.
Now there's a system for everything. Now I put
everything.
everything on a system. I remember when the first time, we were trying to place orders, and I walked into this restaurant. Well, how do we do orders? Oh, we go look, and it looks like I need 3 cases of lettuce. Maybe I need 5 cases of chicken.
Sure.
Maybe I need 10 cases of flour. I'm like, but this isn't working. Now, sometimes at the end of the week, I have an extra 10 cases. Sometimes at the end of the week, you don't have enough, and we're running to go scramble more.
Sure.
So I'm like, all right, we got to have systems. We put part places there. All right, we know on this amount of sales, we know exactly this amount. This is the part number. This is what we have on stock. This is what we need to order. And now everything is systematically done.
That's great.
And it saves time. It saves headache. It saves money.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely. So how do you do that? Do you do it consistently from like the month before, or you say, hey, Super Bowl's coming up, I'm usually going to sell so many more wings, or based off the year before?
So on busier days, we do have specific parts for those exact days.
Sure.
I know, Super Bowl Sunday, the pizzerias need 30 bags of flour, and you need 30 cases of wings.
Right.
So I know on a Friday during the summer, on a Friday night, I need X, Y, and Z versus a Friday night in January. It's a little bit slower. I only need this amount.
Right.
So I break it down on a monthly basis. I break it down on a daily basis, and then I break it down on holidays.
Got it.
So everything's broken down.
Love
so
that.
we have numbers and figures for everything.
And then in each store, do you have a certain person that's responsible for that, or is that you're doing all that also?
So it was me. I was doing everything.
Yep. Because we're the owner, we usually do everything.
Yes. So I like doing it. I always wanted to be the best at everything.
Sure.
Like I wanted to be.
Oh yeah.
So I was the best dishwasher. I was the best prep person. I was the best cook. So I wanted to learn every single position, and then I had to be the best at that position.
That's right.
So, and that's what I did. I made sure I was the best dishwasher. I made sure I was the best cook. I made sure I was the best, X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Because how are you going to tell somebody else to do something if you don't know how to do it yourself?
Correct.
No?
Correct.
How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Hey, I want you to go be my dishwasher and wash dishes, but you've never done it yourself. How, you can't.
Oh yeah. You
can't
came
tell
up through the ranks and you were able to do, or you wanted to do everything,
Yes.
so you can delegate that out.
Exactly.
And you won't tell someone something to do that you haven't done before.
That I haven't done my before.
And I feel like that's important because a lot of business coaches that I see say, hey, you need to just do this because, you're not good at it. It's going to take you years to figure out. No, that's not the truth. You need to have an idea on how everything works so that you can work it properly and know if it's working properly or not.
That is correct. You need to have an idea yourself exactly how everything works, because otherwise you really can't delegate.
That's right.
So yeah, now I'm more into delegation. Now it's okay. You do this. You're here. You're here. You're here. So now you're in the stage of where I'm just more delegating, telling everyone, and honestly training, because your people are number one. So training.
Absolutely.
Training never ever stops. Someone told me when I was young, you should never stop hiring. You should never stop training.
Yep.
Those are the two things they told me, and I don't. You see a good person and you want to train them and work them up. That's great.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let that slide.
Yep.
People are everything.
Definitely.
So training and hiring, you should never stop doing those two things. Ever.
Definitely. I have to agree with you. So now, your goals. Did you set up goals for like a 3-year goal, 5-year goal? What does something like that look like for you and your partner?
Absolutely. So I was lucky to meet a lot of people who were way ahead of me. I remember when we were looking at buying this small place, and the owner, very well-known guy in this area, owned 45 restaurants.
Wow.
And he's all in this area. And then I happened to meet another very good friend of mine who he owns a national chain right now. He owns over 200 locations. Oof. So I'm looking at these guys, and I talk to these guys every day, and I'm very good friends with these guys. And where do I want to be? Where are my goals? What? And I think I set a goal eventually. I was looking at this one guy, and I saw what he was doing. Like, I want to be at that $50 million mark, somewhere around there. And just based on what I saw, what everyone else was doing, and how I can grow it. So I set goals for myself, and I set time goals. And I want, 5 stores in 5 years, 10 stores in 7 years. Okay, and let's grow, let's expand.
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. But
yeah, that's great.
I always thought you need goals just so you need something to look forward to.
Sure, definitely.
Because even though you're working your ass off, you wanna look forward to something.
Yep.
You gotta look forward to something. Something, you're not just working every day for no reason.
Exactly.
You need something to look forward to.
Yes.
And I always thought, okay, if I hit that mark, then maybe I could treat myself with a little something, and now I got something to look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
I can see a reward in the future. I'm just
Definitely.
working harder, and I see that goal getting closer and closer. I'm getting closer and closer to my goal, and I'm also getting closer and closer to give myself a little reward for hitting that goal.
Right. We do the same. So we literally say, our Stan, my COO, a couple of the other guys, we'll set goals and say, hey, we hit this goal, I'm getting this. Because it's not about, it's about, making money, but at the end of the day, it's also about building the systems that's going to make you money time and time again. So for me, I seen a guy in a different state, Wisconsin. He just sold his company for $100 million. So I said, oh, what did he do? He sold one-day bathrooms. So what did I do? I wrote to him on Facebook. It was like, basically, it was one guy being negative. I like to be positive, always. So I said, hey, you don't even know that gentleman, and you're saying something negative. You don't know what he did or didn't do. He didn't say, he wasn't bragging to me $100 million. He was just saying he was doing 500 bathrooms a month. And the guy's like, no way. Well, sure enough, that guy wrote me personally and said, hey, thanks for sticking up for me. People are always negative. It seems like every time I see you, you're positive.
Yes.
So what ended up happening there was we started talking every single day. And he's like, Sam, you're doing way too much. You need to start, looking at just the bathrooms. And so I said, let me start a division and see how it goes. And researched it for a good year before I did it. We already do bathrooms a lot, but not like at the level of what they are, and not with the training, and not with the systems and processes what I have over in the other office. But once I put that together, I'm like, okay, these are all numbers. Everything's numbers. How much marketing I spend brings me how many leads. How many leads brings me so many appointments.
Right.
Appointments brings me jobs. Jobs bring me revenue, right? And then production side, hey, I need this many installers for this many salesmen and this many basically project managers to overlook all these installations. And then installation repair people. We need for every 3 crews, we have 1 installation repair who could also help with the installs every single day. So all those processes built in is going to, eventually my goal is $100 million a year in revenue. We're already doing, $10 million we bought 2 years ago. A little over 12 to 15 probably this year, and then this year I'm minimum of 15 to 17. So I don't want to grow too fast too, because that could break it. But I definitely want to build it strong and then be able to eventually franchise that out. We started doing importing, so we started importing our own like shower heads in like 4 different colors, and they're like a rain shower and a handheld. And I made them. I basically sent them the ones that I want to be better than, which were the best around here. Because again, like you, I like to be the best in whatever I do. I'm like, hey, make it better than this. Design came back. Your mechanical buttons. It is awesome, and it's cheaper than a Moen faucet. So that was my goal.
It's funny you brought a franchise, and that's always been. When I was younger, it was a goal of mine, and I was very lucky to be surrounded by a lot of people And I'll tell you a quick story. When I was working at that Houlihan's job, I was a server. And I would serve this one guy every like Friday. Regular guy, and I would serve him. And we'd talk. And I had owned a motorcycle at the time. And we used to talk about motorcycles. And one day he asked me, he said, I really want to show you something because you like motorcycles so much. And I was like, well, what? He's like, oh, I just got a new sport bike. And he told me about it, and it was a sport bike that I hadn't heard of. And I was like, okay. And he's like, oh, it's really cool. You really need to check it out. You should come by the house one day and just take a look at it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll do that. He gave me his address. So I drive over to his house, and it's a very nice house. And I'm like, okay, wow, pretty cool. He opens up a garage, and there's like 10 motorcycles parked there. And I'm like, wow. And he's like, well, this is the one I wanted to show you. I'm like, well, what is this? He's like, oh, it's one of 35 motorcycles in the world. It's all carbon fiber and magnesium. He's like, I have one. Michael Jordan has one. Jay Leno has one. And he like rattled off a bunch of names. I was like, okay, wow, it's pretty cool, but very expensive. Wow. And he's like, you really want to see something cool? And I'm like, yeah, what? He's like, well, come to the other side of the house. And we walk around to the other side of the house, and there's more garages on the other side of the house. And I was like, wow, that's okay, it's crazy. I didn't know there's garages on both sides of the house. And he opens up the garage, and there's a brand new Ferrari sitting there. And at that point, I don't think I'd ever been that close to one or seen one in real life. And I was like, holy shit, what is that? This is my new Ferrari. Wow, what do you do and how do you afford this?
Right.
I'm like, now you need to tell me. And he's like, well, I'm in restaurant business. And it's like clicked. Okay, I need to go in the restaurant business. I want a Ferrari.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, tell me more.
Sure.
He's like, well, I own McDonald's and a couple other little restaurants. And he told me his story. And I was like, wow. And even his story, he's like, but I started small. And he was like, listen, when I ordered this car, I couldn't afford it. But they told me it was going to be 3 years. And I figured in 3 years, I will be able to afford it if I work hard enough.
That's amazing.
And when the car came in, he had worked hard enough and he could afford the car.
Right.
But he couldn't afford it when he ordered it.
Sure.
And I was like, that's awesome. So it's restaurant business, hard work, and you got what you wanted.
That's
and
right.
Yeah. And I was like, I need to do that.
Yeah, so that was your inspiration. Go, okay, he can do it, I can do it, right?
I saw other people doing it.
Sure.
And that was it. I just clicked.
That's
and
amazing.
Even today, I hang out with a lot of people more knowledgeable than I am in restaurant business.
Right.
And
right.
they're a lot more successful than I am. And I talk to these people constantly. And
you pick their brain, you get their ideas.
I'm very lucky to know the people I do know. Like I said, my one friend, he's got 200 plus locations, getting ready to sell his chain soon. And it's funny. So this place where we all visit in the summer and we're all together down this shore, and in this town, there's 3 or 4 guys in this town, and each one started a little restaurant chain, and each one blew up. And this is Point Pleasant, Belmar, New Jersey.
Got it.
So the 3 guys, the one guy, I'm sure you know him, the one guy just sold his company, his restaurants 2 months ago. And I believe he got, I forget the exact number, but I want to say he got somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 or $500 million.
That's amazing.
Playables.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I knew they did good. Yep. I knew that. Yep.
So all these guys, they're all good friends. They all live in the same, almost the same street.
Sure.
A couple streets over, all in the same town.
Oh, yeah.
All started their businesses,
That's
all in
so
Belmar,
cool.
Point Pleasant.
Yep.
So he sold first, right? Then the next one sold 2 months after that. He got $8 billion, Jersey Mike's.
I heard that. Yeah, so all PE companies, private equity companies are coming in here and just looking at the EBITDA, look at the numbers and say,
All
this is your
selling to
number.
these,
Oh, yeah.
Big financial guys are buying up.
Yeah.
And the third guy, all 3 of these guys are very good friends.
Yep.
The third guy is the one that I'm very close with. And he is now, okay, my other 2 friends just sold, and now he's looking at the same thing.
Right behind it.
And
right behind it.
he's looking at the same thing.
Oh, yes. Yeah, my other good friend, he has over 100 franchises because he has the meat company. He owns that, and then he sells it to his franchises. And then those franchises, he has over 100 now that he's built up. He's a CEO, and he's got multiple offers, but he's got one really solid offer, and he's about there to ready to sell.
So is franchising a goal for you as well?
So eventually, I think franchising will be the whole ticket for me to be able to build them up.
Well.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I went back and forth on it. It was a big goal of mine when I was younger.
Yep.
And then sometimes I think, oh, you want to keep it private.
Sure.
Want to see what these guys do. But then sometimes I'm like, wow, maybe I do want to franchise and just create systems. Because franchising, it's systems.
It is. It's all
putting
systems, yep.
and people in place. So
That's right.
franchising comes down to.
That's right.
So sometimes it is a goal, but I go back and forth on it.
Well, I think for me though, like the construction company, like the Showcase Remodel is the main company. it's not franchisable, right? Because it's way too big. We do way too many custom things. But I think the bathroom division is simplified. You have 6 choices of walls, 4 choices of inserts, 4 choices of the shower heads, 2 choices of shower doors in 4 different colors. Everything is a system where you can sit down and almost like a book, go, okay, check, 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 check. Here it is, you're done, right? Installation, same thing. As long as you have the training, it's done. Everyone does it exactly the same. Only issue could be is when you remove something, maybe some floor joists are rotted. Anything unforeseen, that would be the only issue with it. But as far as a business model, it's easily trainable, easily teachable, and something they can build up easily.
And again, that comes down to systems, procedures, and your people. So
Absolutely.
that's what it all comes down to.
Absolutely.
And a lot of elbow grease and hard work.
That's it. Figuring it out. Go, okay, you know what? This didn't work today. I'm going to take this off the list. Or this didn't, consistently, these
we're
are
going to
working.
try this. It might work, it might not work, but we're going to try it.
Right.
We're not going to be scared. We're going to try it.
Absolutely.
We're not going to be scared to try. You can't be scared to fail is what it comes down to.
No.
You can't be scared to fail anymore.
Absolutely.
You really can't.
Yeah, honestly, failing, I'm not scared at all to fail because guess what? I'm going to learn something from that, and I'm going to make a lot of money from it, just like you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like if you're not willing to try and fail, you're never going to succeed. And if you give up, then guess what? You didn't have it.
It's all about you cannot be scared.
No.
And it's sometimes you got to ask yourself, hey, what am I willing to give up to be successful?
Yes.
Like, what am I willing to give up?
Oh, yeah.
Am I willing to give up driving a $50,000 car so I can drive a $5,000 car so I can use that money for something else?
That's right.
What are you willing to give up?
Oh, yeah.
That's a question you really got to ask yourself, especially when you're starting out. What are you willing to give up?
Definitely.
What are you going to do?
Oh, yeah. So sometimes it's better to be able to fail and we'll start with next to nothing because kind of like how I work, because it's that much easier to go, it's sink or swim. You're that squirrel in that corner, and you're just going to go at it as hard as you possibly can, and I'm going to make it work no matter what, because it's my only choice. I have nothing to fall back on. When you have a nice job to fall back on, it makes it really hard to go, I already have the nice car. I already have the boat. Why would I do this? Well, you got to really think about it and go, is it for you? Maybe it's not. Is it easy? No, it's not. You have to have that killer, instinct of, hey, I'm going to keep going until it either, I fail and keep on going, or I got to make sure that's going to be positive and bring in a profit, or I just lose everything.
Absolutely.
And I feel like my one friend, he's like, hey, you think I should? I said, well, if you're going to do this and you're trying to do it the way I do it with the properties, you have to sell everything. Like, you don't need that boat. That boat's a waste of money.
Waste of money.
That car you have that's $70,000,
Waste of money.
You don't need that either.
You don't need
Get something real basic, real cheap. You can buy cash, no car payments. All your money's going to go into real estate, and that's it. Then once you have that real estate built up, then go ahead and.
Then you can go get the car. Then you can go. But in the beginning, you got to be willing to sacrifice.
That's it.
You need to. You need to be willing to ask yourself, okay, what am I going to give up? How am I going to sacrifice? Just to get that focus and get where you want to be.
Definitely.
That's what it all comes down to.
So now we're going to talk about the younger generation. So for me, it's really hard because, I think my military background, my jail, working at the jail for a while, working the police for a while. My background is I can't believe some of these people go in and think they're just already. They're so privileged that they're supposed to get a break, they're supposed to get this, and they don't want to work hard. And I feel like it's built into the society now. You don't have to work hard. You could be on YouTube and make millions of dollars. And that's what these people really think.
Yes,
so for me, I'm having a hard time, hiring people on and trying to train them the way I want. Are you finding the same, or?
It is a different generation.
And how do you overcome that?
It is a different. I see it, and it is a different generation.
Sure.
This generation is brought up on their cell phones and. Maybe a little more coddled, and they don't have the, growing up being outside all day and,
Sure.
Learning through mistakes and falling down and getting hurt and doing this and adversity, having to overcome adversities.
Absolutely.
They don't have a lot of that. And it's tricky.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see it, and it's a little give and take sometimes.
Right.
I work with a lot of younger people work for me.
Sure.
A lot of high school kids work for me. And honestly, I'm lucky. They're great.
Yep.
They really are great.
Oh, yeah.
And even though some of them come from different backgrounds. Some of them come from backgrounds where they don't have to work.
Right.
They have no reason to work.
Sure.
They really don't.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
They turn 17, their parents buy them new cars, they have this, they have that. They have no reason to work.
Sure.
But they come in and they really do work hard every single day. And
That's great.
they work next to someone who doesn't have as much as them, who actually needs the money, and that person will work just as hard. I think sometimes it comes down to the environment where you put them in.
Sure.
Maybe they might need a little more coaching, a little more training, but you can work with them. It's a little more work, a little more training, like I said, but you can work with them. You can work with
Definitely.
them. And if you find the right ones, they are willing to work.
Oh yeah.
And, and honestly, sometimes it amazes me because sometimes I look at these guys. Okay, you're 17. Your dad just brought you a brand new, $50,000-$60,000 car.
Sure.
And you still come into work on time. You still work hard. You do everything.
I like that. I definitely
and
like that.
I look at them like, wow, that's awesome. That's
Oh
great.
yeah.
And I have so many people like that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's awesome.
Oh, definitely.
Because when I was that age, I don't
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I'd be working if I didn't have to.
Right.
At that age.
Yeah, yeah.
If I was that age, and my parents gave me a brand new car and
Sure.
a credit card and everything.
Absolutely.
I don't think I'd be working.
Definitely. Definitely.
But they are.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate that, and I appreciate like when people write me and go, hey, I really don't know what I want in life yet, but what is it that you do? And I say, hey, listen, you have to figure out for you what you like and what you don't like. You also have to start working for others to understand what it is that it's all involved with it. Plus, you'll learn their systems and processes to build that up for you. And I feel like a couple of books that I read, I think one is called Traction from Gino Wickman. It's exactly that. It's putting people in systems and processes. Having accountability, having basically clear training and meetings we do Tuesday. It's called an level 10 meeting, where it's an hour and a half. We start on time, we end on time. We have this whole syllabus and what we go through for the meetings, and we follow it every single week. And my business has improved tremendously just based on that. And I feel like if I had that when I first started until now, I'd be so much farther ahead. But I don't cry over spilt milk, but I go, hey, this is what I'm going to do in the future. This is how I know I can be better.
Like I said, it's different for everyone. You really need to figure out what do you like to do? What's your passion?
Sure.
And I think that's where you really want to get into that type of area, that type of work. You don't want to try to start a business or something that you're not interested in or you have no desire because,
Correct.
You're not going to go far. You need to figure out what your passion, figure out what you like.
Absolutely.
What do you like to do? I figured out at a young age, I loved being in charge. Right. I loved being a manager. I loved, delegating tasking, overseeing stuff. And my favorite thing is called organized chaos. I love to be when it's crazy busy on a Friday night. I want to be the one in charge going, all right, guys, here's what we need to do.
Yep.
You here, you here, you here,
I love
I'm
that too.
here. And we're going to bang this out. We're going to get this done.
Oh, yeah. Teamwork. Put it all together.
Absolutely. And I put it all together as a team and we get it done.
That's great.
Organized chaos. That's my thing. I love it. Love it. That's what I call it. And that's what I strive.
We call it here. You'll hear them down there talking about that.
But yeah, there's so many different paths that people can take, especially young people nowadays. And when you're looking for something to do, number one, surround yourself with people who you want to be like.
Right. I agree with that too.
Like I said, a lot of my friends are a lot older than me, a lot more established, and these are the guys who I talk to, and they tell me, hey, because they've been doing this for 50 years. So,
right.
Hey, do this, do that.
Sure.
Surround yourself with the people you want to be like.
Right.
Look at your passions, your goals. What do you want to do? And that's really how you kind of make a decision what path you want to take.
Absolutely.
But always surround yourself with good people.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. So is there anything else that you want to kind of tell my little audience about business and, just growing with business and, basically, the ins and outs of,
It comes down to hard work. You need to be willing to put the hours in. You need to be willing to give up almost everything. I can tell you I've worked every holiday my entire life. I've never celebrated 4th of July. I'm at work. I'm a huge NFL football fan. Huge. Love football. I won't tell you which team because of this area, but I love football. I could spend all day watching football if I had the opportunity, okay? Yep. I have never, ever seen an entire Super Bowl on television. I work every Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's one of my busiest days of the year.
That's what
I've
it
never
is.
seen the whole game.
Yeah, priorities. Your priorities are right.
Never seen it.
Priorities are right. So definitely.
Never seen the whole Super Bowl.
Yep.
And I get invited to them, don't I?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
I've been invited to Super Bowls, haven't gone.
Yep.
Haven't even seen the whole game.
Yeah.
Sometimes I make it home and I catch the end of the game.
Sure. Maybe one day you'll have that goal where, hey, you get to this level, you're going to a Super Bowl.
Right.
That's another goal.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But it's what are you willing to give up?
Exactly.
Are you willing to give up not watching the game so that you can work and be profitable that day?
Absolutely.
What are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up your holidays? Are you willing to give up going to birthday parties and weddings and this and that?
Sure.
What are you willing to give up?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that you really need to think about. Yes, it's fun hanging out late at night. It's fun going to bars till 2 o'clock in the morning. But, you still got to have that focus where, okay, 6 a.m., I'm up there, I'm at work, I'm going to get going. And,
Definitely.
And like I said, find people who you want to be like.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with those type of people.
Definitely. All right, well, Reggie, I appreciate you.
Sam, I
coming here today,
appreciate you joining
taking
me.
time out of your busy schedule. I know you're busy all the time.
Anytime.
And
Anytime.
it's awesome. Definitely get you on again.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Yep.
it.